Good morning. I will wait 1 more minute so that we have more people joining the webinar. So in the meantime, good morning, everyone, and let's wait a bit. Okay, so let's start. Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the Nebula Project, my name is Laura Pallares. I'm the head of Europe at World Green Building Council, and I will be your moderator for the day. Welcome to this webinar, which is Creating Innovative Networks for a Sustainable Built Environment. This webinar is going to be recorded, and it will last 1 hour and a half. So if we go to the next slide, then I'll show you the agenda we have planned for today. So we'll have at the beginning an opening, so some welcoming words to set the scene and explain you a bit an introduction of what's Nebula. Then we will dig in the relevance of Nebula and the ecosystem and what are the linkages between the Build for People partnership. Later on, we will go to the Build for People innovation clusters and the new European Bauhaus, and it will be explained a comprehensive approach to understand better how are the links and how are the impacts together of those two initiatives. Then we'll go to a very important part, which is the financial tools. And then we will have a really nice testimonial from the Build for People innovation clusters, one of the front runners we have. They will be explaining also the aims and the objectives and how this Nebula project changed their scope. For later, also going to the Star Track aims and objectives, which is a project that will take over some of the initiative of the Nebula project. And we will finalize with some Q&A questions. So you are welcome to raise the hand or to write some comments on the chat, so whatever you want. And later on, we will be closing it. And with that, I would like to leave the floor, if we go to the next slide, for the opening. So we have Karine Lafont-Eloire, which is obviously the Nebula project coordinator. She's a senior consultant and associate partner in Dowell Innovation. So, Karine, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Laura, for the introduction. So I have the pleasure to present Nebula this morning. Nebula is a coordination and support action funded by Horizon Europe to support the Build for People partnership along 3 main objectives that you can see here. First, to foster the dissemination and adoption of the new European Bauhaus values and principles towards the construction sector. Secondly, to facilitate access to funding, but also networking opportunities for innovators through the Build for People partnership. And last but not least, to set up a network of innovation clusters to enhance collaborations between organizations, but also countries and disciplines. So we started in October 2022, and we would like to share today with you our project results and main achievements. If you can go next, please. Our first achievement is the creation of the network of Build for People innovation clusters, which now counts more than 20 clusters and will continue to expand to cover more European countries. This network will be presented in more details by Anastasia from ECTP, so I won't tell you much more about this. So what does Nebula bring to these B4P innovation clusters and their ecosystems? In line with our objectives, we have activities dedicated to the new European Bauhaus, including a handbook, webinars, and a network of NEB advisors. These activities will be presented by Larissa from ACE. Nebula then developed guidance and tools to facilitate the access to public and private funding for cluster and their members. This will be presented by my colleague Julie from Doel Innovation. And Nebula also provided support and capacity building to the cluster of the Before-Peak network, in particular our frontrunner clusters, ODEs, and Build-In. Noelia from Build-In will share first insights and lessons learned with you about what it means being a Before-Peak innovation cluster. We also brought together promising innovations from EC-funded projects into a nice booklet. If you can go next, please, which was just released. So you can have a look at it and see very interesting innovation from Before-Peak funded projects. And we also have organized several clustering activities with projects that are funded under the Before-Peak umbrella, so they can share lessons learned and good practices. And you can see here a nice picture that we took 2 months ago with the 30 Before-Peak projects in Brussels. Nebula will finish in 2 months, but the work won't stop then. And the activities of and the Before-Peak network will continue as part of the Star Trek project. Yeah, please go next. Yes, and this Star Trek project will be presented later on by Liz from Nobatech. So as you can see, Star Trek has already started and will fully take over from Nebula in March. And I now leave the floor to our next speaker, Larissa from ACE, who will present in more detail the activities. Oh, no, sorry, it's Anastasia. So I leave the floor to Anastasia then, presenting the Before-Peak Innovation Clusters Network.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Corinne. And today, good morning, everyone. I've got a pleasure to position the Nebula project in the ecosystem and the interlinkage with the Build for People partnership. The next slide will give you the outline of the some facts about the Build for People partnership, which is a European co-program partnership under Horizon Europe. It is in Pillar 2, Cluster 5, Climate, Energy, Mobility. The partnership is running for 7 years, starting in 2021 up to 2027, and it channels about 380 million euros of European Union funding for those Build for People projects, so the projects under the Build for People umbrella. The partners' commitments are 400 million euros, so altogether the general finance line is 780 million euros. And the activities of the Build for People partnership are rather various and heterogeneous, but today we are focusing on the setup and support of the network of the innovation clusters. The Build for People partnership is coordinated from public side by the Commission, and from the private side, it's the European Construction Technology Platform, as well as World Green Building Council. And as Corinne just introduced, here we're focusing on the 2 Build for People CSA coordination support action projects, which is Nebula, the key point of our presentation, and the Star Trek project, which will be the continuation and developing of the network. The next slide will show you the will show you the relevance of the Nebula project and the development of the Build for People Innovation Cluster Network for the built environment. So basically here we're answering 2 critical challenges of the built environment's innovation ecosystem. It is, from one hand, to become more sustainable and resilient, and particularly in face of continuous climate changes and reduction of biodiversity, as well as, from the other hand, to become more people-centric. And this is with the mutual goal to improve the well-being and social cohesion, us as a society, but also us as individuals. And here we're coming, the Nebula project is coming with 2 practical responses. So the sustainability and resilience is answered by the Build for People partnership and all the activities around it, particularly in supporting innovation. And of course, here there is the green light for the New European Bauhaus, which is a creative and transdisciplinary movement to reimagine sustainable living and to develop accordingly. The next slide will show you will provide you a definition of what it is, the Build for People Innovation Cluster. So it is the innovation cluster is Build for People Innovation Cluster is seen as a group of innovation-driven stakeholders, which might be formed by 1 to local regional clusters who mutually engage in the maturing process in order to foster a European Union scale, multidisciplinary and sustainable innovation, and particularly placed and oriented in a built environment. Here, there are two big worlds which meet. This is the world of Built for People, and with its three general objectives, scientific, economic, and societal, as well as 7 Built for People specific objectives, which try to address different aspects of the sustainable and inclusive development of the built environment. The second big world meeting in the vision of the Build for People Innovation Cluster is New European Bauhaus, which is its 3 core values: beautiful, sustainable, together, so addressing all the aspects of aestheticity, sustainability, and inclusiveness, as well as 3 New European Bauhaus working principles, which are participatory process, multi-level engagement, and transdisciplinary approach. The next slide will show how this vision is taken into consideration in order to develop the Build for People Innovation Cluster Maturity Framework and develop, which is in the basis of the Build for People Innovation Cluster Network. What is the Build for People Innovation Cluster Network? It is the network which is, well, obviously composed of the Build for People innovation clusters, which have formally engaged in this Build for People maturing process. Formality means that they formally signed the Build for People Innovation Cluster Charter, and by doing this, they ensure the exchange of good practices and foster collaboration among different Build for People innovation clusters. And this vision, well, as I said, this vision takes into consideration Build for People objectives, from both sides, 3 general and 7 specific, as well as New European Bauhaus core values and working principles. But it's also done according to what we call 6 Build for People success factors, or different destinations, how this maturity can be gained and evaluated. So the first one is the whole built environment ecosystem, meaning that the Build for People Innovation Cluster tries to engage different actors which represent whole built environment ecosystem, or at least try to be as inclusive as possible. The second Build for People Innovation Cluster success factor is multi-objectives, meaning that the cluster tries to aim various Build for People objectives as well as European Bauhaus values and principles. It is another success factor, it is to be cross-sector, so rather to include actors from different sectors and not focusing on one. Probably important, but not one. The fourth success factor is to be locally anchored with national European outreach. So really to be able to include local, regional, national, European levels and have actors from these different levels working together. The fifth success factor is to be cross-border. Here we mean not only geographical borders, but also clusters coming from different countries which might not even be geographically connected. Yet it doesn't stop them from collaborating together. It only gives more diversity and more added value in their collaboration. And finally, the sixth success factor is, well, some more practical aspects. It's to have an access to test beds and demonstration spaces and be able to test their developed innovations already now, already during the process. So again, to have more added value from it. And another click will just show you that all these different worlds and all these different aspects are taken into consideration in order to to have our Build for People Innovation Cluster Maturity Framework developed. Now, when we go to the next slide, here there is a colorful schema showing the added value of why it's interesting to be a Build for People Innovation Cluster and be actively participating in the Build for People Innovation Cluster network. Very quickly, I'm pretty sure Naila will give you more insights into it, but here just outlining the main benefits. It's to have the increased visibility in the high-level European networks, the option to be able to meet and communicate easier with other national regional clusters. It will be also the opportunity to take a broader approach to research and innovation, which will include and is facilitated by the communicating key messages to the European Commission. Obviously, it will be useful for clusters to benefit from new services for members of the Build for People Innovation Cluster Network, which will include, well, important thing is accessing new resources and fundings. So really supporting innovations in all the levels. The next slide will introduce three main types of the innovation clusters according to their Build for People innovation clusters, according to their maturity. So if the cluster is just interested and would like to explore the opportunity of becoming Build for People innovation cluster, it is a prospective one. As long as the prospective Build for People innovation cluster applied and is accepted by signing the Build for People Innovation Cluster Charter on the basis of the commitment to progress towards defined maturity, the cluster is becoming to be an emerging Build for People Innovation Cluster. Here it's important to note that the levels of maturity, the main destinations, and the timeline is defined by the cluster itself. So it's not imposed on the cluster, it's really the decision of the cluster here where to support them. And as soon as the emerging Build for People Innovation Cluster has demonstrated that it meets the required maturity level in the areas in the they define for themselves, and according to the timeline they define for themselves, the Build for People Innovation Cluster is becoming an established Build for People Innovation Cluster. And the next slide will introduce you, we'll kind of show the position about where we are and where we go. So here there is the roadmap of the Build for People Innovation Cluster movement. So they cluster themselves and the network, the development of them. Corinne introduced earlier that the Nebula project started in the end of 2022, October 2022. Now we're getting to the final stages of this particular coordination and support action projects. And here you see that already several blocks are developed, and you will have a little bit more insight into them very shortly. And here we're in a transition moment when the Nebula activities is taken, deepened, and further developed by the Star Trek activities. And with the idea to have minimum 10-15 fully established or fully mature established Build for People innovation clusters by 2028. So it's virtually by the end of the Build for People partnership. However, the story is not finishing here. The network is already established and working and developing, and our aim here is rather be able to support them in the way the network is developed and clusters are actively participating. So the movement is going on, and hopefully it will be only mutually beneficial for everyone else. And if we go to the next slide, please. Well, as promised, here is a little bit more insight in our Build for People Innovation Cluster network. At the moment, well, today we say 28th January, well, end of January 25. The network has 21 actively participating Build for People Innovation Clusters coming from 12 European countries, which are in blue color in this map. And from these 21 Build for People Innovation Clusters, we have 12 emerging clusters, meaning that these clusters who have already signed the Build for People Innovation Cluster charters and developed their roadmaps, the implementation plan about the way how they would like to mature within the network. And we at the moment have 9 prospective Build for People Innovation Clusters who are going to sign their charters in the next months, weeks, well, let's say months. But already these Build for People Innovation Clusters, even if only prospective, they are already in the network and they already benefit from the services provided to the clusters. And here you can see that we have several clusters from some countries, and not yet added other countries into the network. Well, just to give you the idea, we've got Portugal, Spain, France, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, Italy. We have Hungary, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, and Slovenia, and Greece, of course. I guess I haven't forgotten everyone. Here, well, there was a little announcement that the next expression of interest for innovation clusters to join the Build for People Innovation Cluster network, to apply to become prospective and furthermore emerging, furthermore established. So the next expression of interest is opening on the 1st of April this year. It's not a joke, it's a real application. And the applications will be taken till the end of May 2025. So what can I say? Just stay tuned to hear more. There was the question from Marianne, I guess.
No worries. It's some testing. But questions
okay, so
are gonna happen later. No worries. Thank you so much, Anastasia, for this very interesting and comprehensive explanation. I hope it's clear. Otherwise, I welcome people you can write questions in the chat or later there's going to be a session of Q&A, so you can ask your questions there and we'll be very happy to answer. And yes, keep an eye on this new launch of expression of interest. If you are a innovation cluster that you would like to join the network, this webinar will keep explaining you the benefits of joining this amazing network. So thank you very much, Anastasia. And if we go to the next slide, I will be able to introduce our next speaker. She's Larissa De Rosso. She is a project officer in Architects Council Europe. And she will be explaining us the Build for People Innovation Clusters and the new European Bauhaus and how are aligned their objectives and their interests. So Larissa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Laura. So hello, everybody. So I would like to talk to you a little bit about, let's start with the new European Bauhaus. Please, if you could go to the next slide. So the new European Bauhaus is an initiative from the European Commission. It's a policy and funding initiative that started in September 2020 by Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission. So it takes inspiration in the Bauhaus movement in the early 20th century. And the idea of the new European Bauhaus is to take the Green Deal, announced also by Ursula von der Leyen, the European Green Deal, and to make it more not only sustainable, but also inclusive and beautiful. So is to bring the built environment and promoting solutions in these 3 pillars. So from there, from 2020 until now, 2025, the European Commission have produced a lot of documents on the new European Bauhaus, and you can access all these documents and more information in the QR code you can see on the screen. But then how the European Bauhaus connected to the Build for People partnership, to the Build for People cluster, innovation clusters. So this was our task to make this bridge. Please, next slide. So the idea is to make this bridge between the network of Build for People innovation clusters and the new European Bauhaus. Please, if you could click again, we have some animation. So, and how do we do that? We create a NEB advisor community. We develop some materials like the handbook for it's a guide for innovation on New European Bauhaus concept, and we also run several webinars on NEB-related topics. So if you could go to the next slide, I will go through in detail about the NEB advisor community. As you can see here, a community is mainly made out of people. Here are a few of the people involved in the community. So right now we have 21 NEB advisors. They come from 16 clusters, so Build for People innovation clusters, and one municipality network, which is ICLEI, and one foundation. The community has regular meetings, and the idea of this community is that we, the Nebula project, can offer them the information they need about the New European Bauhaus initiatives, and they are, let's say, the ambassadors, the people that inside their clusters, they can promote this information about the New European Bauhaus, understand the members on their network that are interested in the initiative, and start to steering up some new initiatives or application for new funding for projects funded by European Commission or national funding. So the idea is really to be the point for steering up new initiatives, collaboration, and participation between clusters, but also not only between clusters, but also inside the clusters, to try to bring the NEB to the innovation companies that are inside the cluster. So yeah, here I just gave an update of them. And then with the New European Bauhaus advisor, we have some platforms that they can meet up and see what is going on. But the first platform is in fact a platform for external stakeholders. So anyone that is interested, that would like to know more about the New European Bauhaus, you can go to the Build for People partnership website, and there you have all the information about the New European Bauhaus. But for internal communications between the NEB advisors, we have also the Meta Building platform. So inside the Build for People Innovation Cluster, we have a working group on the New European Bauhaus advisors. And there we have all the information that we talk in the meetings, the discussions. So anything that the New European Bauhaus advisors needs to have to collaborate and to promote the New European Bauhaus values into their network. So next slide, please. So as part of the work that we develop about the New European Bauhaus, so the Nebula partners, we wrote as well the handbook. So it's a guide through the initiative, the New European Bauhaus initiative. So mostly this guide, it goes through, so who this guide is for, why the New European Bauhaus, what's the New European Bauhaus, how to join the NEB community, how to make my project NEB by design, where do I get funding, and examples of NEB projects. So this document is quite a comprehensive document, and does not only explain the principles and the concept of the New European Bauhaus, but it aims to be hands-on. So I have a project. Is this project NEB? And if not, what do I need to be NEB? So this is a quite interesting document if you would really want to get engaged in the New European Bauhaus environment and initiative. And if you want to have access right now, you can just scan the QR code, but I also left the link for the document in the slides. So yes, please have access. It's a really, really comprehensive and interesting document. Next slide, please. And then also with the webinars that we promote. So we had 5 episodes done, and it went from the co-creation of regeneration schemes, the presentation of the awardees of the NEB prizes, the startups for Bauhaus go-to-market, and also the New European Bauhausing research and education, and how to make renovation more inclusive and beautiful. So these are all recorded webinars that we did along 2024. So you can have access to all these webinars on the QR code that I left here and in the link that is also there. So these are all like informations to support the New European Bauhaus in the Build for People innovation clusters. And we have this community that it's going to continue, hopefully through the Start Track project. So yeah, that's the idea of the connection between the New European Bauhaus and the Build for People innovation clusters.
Thank you, Larissa. I mean, I have to say that really, I would like to congratulate you because the NEP advisor community looks fantastic. I mean, such a group of experts and people who will help raising awareness. And also, I think the series of webinars that you put together, I think they're fantastic and really spot on. They're aiming to this linkage with the New European Bauhaus and very relevant topics that we are now living through this transition. Okay, so thank you very much, Larissa. And now I would like to give the floor to Julie Sacomano. She's a consultant in EU projects at Double Innovation, and she will explain us a really important part of the project as well, which is the financial tools. Okay, so Julie, floor is yours.
Thank you, Laura. So yes, the Nebula project was built on several observations that you might all have made. So the first one is, of course, that the built environment is considered an heterogeneous and fragmented sectors. The fact is that there is a lot of very small stakeholders that are part of a built environment. They are very locally placed, so it's difficult to raise visibility on certain innovations. And this is why innovations from the built environment often lack the visibility that other sectors might have, such as the digital sectors, for example. And all in all, they attract less investment. But with the benefit that clusters can be good at leverages funds for their members as they serve as intermediaries. So as part of the Nebula project, we try to build the capacity buildings of the clusters to support their members in leveraging more funds and being good intermediaries, or try to bring them something more to attract more investments and money for their innovative members. Next slide, please. So what did we do? We developed what we called the Nebula Founding Help Desk. Next slide, please. So it is composed of two main boxes, so the funding toolbox and the matchmakings and capacity building workshops on the other hand. And these two boxes were built after first deliverable that we did, where we kind of surveyed what are all the funding programs that can apply to the built environment. And when we mean funding programs, we mean, of course, the public ones, but also the public ones at different levels, regional level, national level, but also European levels, but also the private funds. And we interviewed startups from different countries, so the countries of the projects, which are like, we interviewed people from France, startups from Spain, from Italy, from Finland, and we tried to understand how they started and how they got enough money to start their companies and invest. Did they first rely on public funds? Did they first rely on private funds? And how they combined all of these different sources of money. So based on this, we developed the funding toolbox first. And you can go next slide, please. So what is the toolbox? This is actually available on the Build for People website under resources, if you want to find it. And it aims at proposing simple tools to the clusters, but also to anyone else, for people that want to understand what the founding landscape of the built environment is. So we've built some guidelines, mapping of stakeholders, especially for private founders, We did some interviews with business angels and VCs, some recommendation papers, and we've split it into 3 main boxes, if you can see it on the image below. So we have documents that are dedicated to private finance opportunity, documents dedicated to public funding opportunities, and ones that are dedicated to like co-funding, how to mix the funds more or less. And so we've got more than 2,000 downloads, which means that people are looking at it. Next slide, please. So we did like, here is a small focus on private funding, because what we realized is that at least the people working in the clusters and our like European projects ecosystem usually is aware of European and public funds. Clusters are especially skilled when it comes to regional funds. They have links with their regional founders and public, but also private ones. So they are very good at supporting their members at it. But they often lack the knowledge to understand what private funding is and how to get it. And it's not always the role also of the cluster themselves. It can, like, the knowledge can be also fragmented actually between incubators, clusters, and other stakeholders. So we try to group like the basic knowledge to first understand what private funding really is, how to get it there, and who are the stakeholders. So as we said, we got some guidings, we got interviews with business angels, capital ventures to understand what the difference between those are, what are corporate ventures, also who can apply, what level of TRL level you need, what is the like market you should already have, etc. We've built also an entire mapping of private investors. So these groups, business angels networks, mostly from different countries in Europe. It groups like all of the venture capitals in Europe or outside Europe, but that will fund projects in Europe and companies from Europe. So this is very vast because there aren't actually a lot of venture capitals that are dedicated to the built environment itself. But we search for other venture capital and corporate venture that are also targeting the energy sectors that can have innovations dedicated to the built environment, or real estate venture capitals. So all of these that can have a link with built environment and fund the innovators from the before-picked clusters. They are in this landscape, which has been kept updated. And then we also have philanthropy stakeholders and other private actors. So if you're searching for private investor, this can be a good start. Next slide, please. Then, as we said, we didn't focus on regional and national funds because clusters are well aware of this and they are already capable of supporting their members perfectly. But we did focus on European funding opportunities. So we conducted a regular watch. What did we look at? So public opportunities like Horizon Europe calls, of course, especially the Build for People calls, but not only. We looked at many different programs that will target larger company, but also startups, but also the clusters themselves. So this can be like Horizon Europe, but also Innovation Funds, live calls. We went through the EIC calls, but also the EIT calls that you can see below, that are targeting, for example, NEB calls. We also went through cascade funding, so projects funded by the European Union to fund smaller projects that are often run by the clusters themselves. So we did a constant watch during the project of all of these calls. You can find them in 2 deliverables that we published, but of course, some of them, like when we were doing the deliverables, they were not out yet. So we kept them on the Meta Building platform. As you can see, if you go on the platform, you can have access and see a list of currently open calls. And we also develop a monthly newsletter, not for the funding opportunities, but every month we've put the new funding opportunities that we could spot in this monthly newsletter for the clusters. Thank you. Next slide, please. So what we also did were matchmakings. So we had two main matchmakings. The first one took place in person at Sustainable Places in Madrid in June 2023. So we had selected Horizon Europe calls, and yeah, we organized a pitch session of different partners. They were mostly partners that were actually already part in different European projects. The second matchmaking were therefore larger. We did it online to invite like the largest amount of people possible. So we used B2Match, and it targeted the Build for People calls that were from September. So we had 209 participants, and we had pitches specifically from the clusters that were part of the B4Big networks, and then people could connect with one another using the B2Match platform. Yeah, so we're also about in the StatTrack projects, and the work that we've done in Nebula will continue thanks to other partners as well in the StatTrack projects. We have two new activities. One of them is the development of LCA support for the manufacturer from the built environment, for example, so that they can show the sustainability of their projects and access more easily fundings. But I will not go to the details of it right now. We also have one activity that has not started yet that will be targeting public procurement. But then we will continue what we have done regarding Nebula on the public funding and private funding. So next slide, please. And this actually, I'm not the one that will be in charge of this one. We have ECTP, so Anastasia's colleague, that will continue the support for public and European funds. So what will be done will be a dedicated, a dedicated part of the month of the newsletter of StatTrack that will be developed every 3 months, and will adjust the latest EU opportunities to the clusters. We will try to decuplate the impact of this newsletter by asking everyone to share it to the members of the clusters, so that it really goes to the companies and the startups and everyone. And of course, we'll keep disseminating it on LinkedIn and the MetaBuilding platform. And next slide, please. And so this is the latest item that will be developed by the StatTrack project regarding funding opportunities. The idea is to strengthen the links between the private investors and the cluster's members. This task will be developed by WGBC and Laura's team. And the idea is to organize a series of roundtables to discuss important needs of the clusters and the investors, and try to align their needs and facilitate infinite funding of the cluster's members. So here we will target many different private investors, including business angels, corporate ventures, venture capitals, but also banks, and maybe the insurance system. So it will be very large in order to mix these private investors and really answer the needs and hopefully facilitate the fundings of new innovations from the built environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. I mean, also fantastic work from Dowell with the toolbox, mapping all the options that are out there for the clusters, especially the private funding, because I think it's key to unlock this transition as well. and I think really good job also on the matchmaking capacity building. And looking forward, I'll see very excited about taking this next step on the Financiers Forum and see how can we link these two aspects together. Thank you very much again to Lee. And then we go to our next speaker, which is Noelia Ortiz. She's the technical director from Building, and she will explain us like a testimonial, so a real cluster happening, how they live this process and how this impacted their cluster. So please, Noelia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Laura. Good morning, everybody. For us, it's a pleasure being here, trying to communicate what we have been doing since 2022. That has been a very long path and a very hard work, but we are very happy of the work that we have been doing together, and we have a very high expectation of our increase of impact as a cluster at the European level. So we are very implicated in our development in these projects. To start in some way, I don't know if everybody here knows the cluster, so I think that the best way is to explain in 2-3 slides what we are and in which points are we focused, and then enter into what we have been doing since the beginning to right now. So Building is a non-profit association. It's the Basque Construction Cluster. It was created in 2010. It has 15 years old and baggage of work. Our main objective is to boost the collaboration and the competitiveness of the construction sector value chain through the research, development, and innovation, and also the internationalization of our entities. Currently, we are more or less 160 partners that represent all the value chain of the construction sector, from the architects to constructors, promoters, and also the public administrations and the research centers at universities that are linked to the construction sector. More or less, these 160 entities represent the 50% of the billing of the construction sector in the value chain as a whole in the Basque Country, and they invest the 2.5% of their billing in research and development. That is a very good number for us because the average of the sector is lower. Next slide, please. To have like some figures, since the cluster was created, we have been growing a lot, more in the last 4 years when we start focusing our activity in the research and development projects. As a consequence, we increase these partners from 60 to 160, and the last year in 2024 we prepare or boost or participate in 70 projects of research and development, trying to boost these entities of the construction sector to more and more innovative work or job, and trying to push to be more competitive. No? Next slide, please. Okay. When we started in 2022 with Tecnalia, that is one of the members of the partnership of the Nebula project, thinking about how the cluster could be a Build for People innovation cluster, because in that moment we didn't know much more about New European Bauhaus and Build for People partnership and those things. We start analyzing our strategic plan with our strategic areas and trying to see in which way we could align those Build for People strategic or objectives points with our strategy, because for us and for our members it's very important to be aligned between our strategic plan that is defined by them and the projects or the initiative in which we are involved. So for that reason, our 5 strategic areas are the first one, sectoral strengthening and growth. For us, it's very important to boost the sector and to be more competitive. Then we have 2 more technical areas, one linked with the industrialization and digitalization, and the other one with the sustainability and circular economy that are very linked with the twin transition of the European level. Then we have the two last ones. One focus on the international markets and trends. We know that we need to know what is happening at the European level or at a global level to be aligned and to be part of the movements and strategies that are being in other places. And the last part is the sectoral reputation and excellent partnership. For us, it's very important to be more excellent as a cluster and also to work in the sectoral reputation of the construction sector as a whole. So revising these strategic areas, we summarize in the 5 points that you can see on the right side. And these are the points that we start contrasting with the specific objectives of the Build for People initiative. Next slide, please. So in 2022, as I was saying, we start as a third-party partner or as a front-runner cluster in the Nebula project. So we start analyzing internally with the board of directors and the members what were the opportunities of being part of this, because they didn't understand anything. So we have a lot of meetings with the board directors explaining them what was the project, what was the Build for People innovation cluster, and as a consequence of that, and also of a lot of meetings with the members, on September 2023, we signed the chapter as a Build for People innovation cluster, also with Odeis in the same event as they both from the cluster. And we start working also together with Odeis in the evaluation of the success key factors that Anastasia has explained, to see how, as a cluster, we could afford them, and which kind of initiative we could develop together with Odeis to reach another stage of maturity level, being both clusters together. Next slide, please. Okay, these are the benefits that Anastasia explained at the beginning. For us, this slide was very important because it was a very fast way of explaining to our members what we can reach from being a Build for People innovation cluster. For us and for our members, it's very important to communicate what they are doing, and also to give information of the research and development that they are doing for other members or for other clusters or for other countries in Europe. No? So being part of this, it was very interesting for them. And also for us, because if you can click again, please. This one, yes. These CE's benefits are very aligned with the 3 green strategic areas of our strategic plan, that are the collaboration boost the collaboration and competitiveness of our entities, the international market, and the cluster excellence. For us, it's very important to be here and to be aligned with other clusters at European level, other entities, and to have the opportunity of having new financial opportunities in the private way and in the public way, and also to be part of new European calls that for some years to here, we have not the opportunity of participating there. Next slide, please. Okay, so during this 2024, as a consequence of being a Build for People innovation cluster, we have been involved in more Horizon Europe proposal. They have sent us emails and calls to be part of these European funding opportunities. We have enlarged our trans-regional connection because before this Build for People innovation cluster, we have some collaboration with Odeis and also with other clusters at a national level, but we don't have a lot of connection with the European clusters. So as a consequence, we start working and having meetings with other clusters at European level that now there are Build for People innovation clusters also. We have increased our knowledge through Meta Building platform and also about the Build for People innovation cluster ecosystem. Before we didn't know what was European Bauhaus and those things, and we have the opportunity, of having information from first hand and making questions when we don't know what it means or something like that. We have also increased our visibility, and we want to continue working on this point, and also on the visibility of our members, because a cluster is nothing with their members, so we have to see what is the best way of showing them that they have to participate more here. And we have also participated on the different B4B stakeholder forums, increasing our network. And for the next year, so we want to continue in these points, but also we want to accelerate the development of the cluster at the European level and continue participating on the clustering events that are very important for us to increase our network and opportunities of projects in different topics. In the next slide, please. Okay, in this slide and the next one, I think that it's very important to remark the positive aspects and experience that we have had as building and nowadays during this process, and the difficulties that we have had, because not everything is easy, and sometimes also the members that we have in the cluster are not very reactive to our proposals. So we know that we have more participative entities and those ones that are less. So for those clusters that want to join in this experience, I will say them that they have to focus on those that are very active in research and development, and once they have that little group, try to splash to the other members, because in the other way it's impossible. So here I have reflected some conclusions, and also in the next slide. I think that you're going to share the presentation, no? With the members that are participating. Okay.
Yes, it will be
okay.
Noelia.
So they can read it in detail. Okay, so that's all for my part. If you have any questions, you can ask me later. Thank you.
Thank you, Noelia, and thank you for this very honest explanation. And not everything is fantastic. You also had some challenges, which is, again, trying to explain what really happened. Also how these strategies align with the B4People objectives, the progress that you achieve. But I think the most exciting one is like the plans you have for the near future. So thank you so much. And again, that's a clear example of all the journey that Build-In took us in. And again, for future innovation clusters that wants to apply, here was the perfect example. So thank you very much, Noelia. And then before that, I would like, please, if you have questions, you can write them on the chat, or later you will have the opportunity to ask them live. But keep asking, keep thinking on some questions you might want to have an answer from the panelists. So now we have Liz Reynaud, who is a European project manager at Novatec, and she will take us to another journey. So Nebula is finishing this March, but the work of the innovation clusters, it's not over. So StarTrack will take over some of these initiatives, and Liz will explain us. So Liz, floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be with you today to present you StarTrack. You will see many similarities with Nebula, but it's totally normal, don't worry. As we said, StarTrack is the continuation of Nebula's project. It's also a CSA action. It will last 36 months from 2024 to 2027. The main aims are expanding and empowering the B4P networks initiated during Nebula's project, plus supporting innovation and accelerating the access to market in Europe of innovation. The aim of the presentation is to develop StarTrack aims and objectives, so I will develop this later on. And you can see below all the members of the consortium. So you can see Build-In, Dowell, WTBC, and many other partners from Nebula's project, but also new ones. So next slide, please. The main objective, as explained, are two main objectives: expanding and empowering the network and supporting innovation in Europe. So we will focus our effort on the following aspects: integration of new B4PICs, plus accompanying them in their journey, or to help them to become fully established B4PICs, plus paving the way for the replication plans. We will also adapt existing tools to fit with the B4PIC needs, the B4PIC manager needs, so we can support innovation and they can train and support their members. We work to facilitate the access to public and private funding, as Julie already explained during this presentation. The aim is to boost the investment in sustainable business and innovation in Europe. Next slide, please. These objectives will have impacts for the networks. The expansion of the network will permit to collaborate together and to participate in more European projects, for example. To exchange, the member of the network can also exchange learned practices and learn from the others. Same thing for the facilitation. The participants will have new opportunities thanks to the support on funding opportunities. As they will be more competent, the B4PIC will become more competitive thanks to the networks. So they will be able to support more innovation in their region and launch new innovation in the market. It's a brief resume, but as you can see, it's a kind of virtuous circles. On the left side, you can see how we plan to reach this objective thanks to example of activities. For example, providing trainings and tools, trainings like today, for example. Next slide, please. Here are some expected key results, not all of them, but some of them. As you can see, they are centered on the B4PIC support. I can talk about objective 2. We plan to develop a virtual B4PIC network where the B4PIC can share documents, can create working groups to work together on a virtual dedicated space. So they will be able to manage virtually their clusters. It will be on the meta building platforms. We also improve existing tools, for example, key result 7. You can see a TRL scale we are adapting to fit with the B4PIC cluster needs. So with this scale, you can evaluate the maturation level of your innovation, and you can see what are the next steps for your innovation to reach the market. So it's really toolkits and help support for the B4PIC networks. I already mentioned the rest, and also Julie, because we already talked to you about the different access to funding opportunities. Next slide, please. Of course, we are contributing to the B4P partnership objective. We are contributing to all of them, but I will develop just 3 of them. Objective A, we will contribute to it by integrating new actors in our B4PICs, providing training and tools to them, and we will collaborate together in new European projects promoting new innovation. We also will empower the B4PIC so they can train their members on processes and tools enable green innovation in Europe. We will contribute to Objective B by supporting innovation, most particularly by giving access and easy access to living labs, pilot sites, O3 beds, mainly thanks to the development of the meta building lab platforms, where you can find every. I will develop this platform later on, but in this platform you can find any type of testing facility you want. And we will contribute to Objective E by raising awareness of benefits of innovative, sustainable solutions of local actors, such as municipalities, social housing, architects, etc. This is why we are trying to cover and to work with the whole value chain to be efficient. That's it for these slides. As I said, we are working with 3 OITBs, Meta Building Labs, Mizire, and iClimateBuilt. This is the 3 main ones in Europe. I can talk rapidly about Meta Building Labs because Nobatech is coordinating Meta Building Labs. But if you are interested by the 2 other ones, of course, I have the contact, and of course, you can find easily the platform online. So, Meta Building Labs, in this project, we are working on the development and improvement of O3 beds, living labs, and other pilot sites everywhere in Europe. The aim is to facilitate the access to tests. The tests are mainly for facade and all type of innovation linked to facade, like panels or windows, for example. So thanks to the platform, you can find the relevant testing facility for your innovation, and you can test it everywhere in Europe to test various climates and various markets. It will permit to facilitate your innovation development and to accelerate its access to markets. You have access to different markets in Europe. So you can try new markets. This is mainly the aim of this project. You will have in 2 weeks another webinar regarding the Meta Building platform, the platform in which we are entering all the results of this project, StarTrack Nebula Meta Building Labs project. So if you want to participate to this webinar, I think you already received the link. It will be on the February 11. And if you have any question regarding StarTrack project, or if you want to answer to the expression of interest of May, you have the contact here. You also have the contact of Anastasia. So feel free to contact us and to participate to become a before peak, a new before peak.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you so much for explaining the StarTrack objectives. I think now the audience has more clear the direction this is taking. Also the expected key results that you aim to obtain, and also how these align with the Build for People partnership objectives. Thank you very much, Liz. And now we're gonna go to the Q&A session. So very exciting. First, I will answer already one. If the slides will be shared, yes, slides and recording will be shared once we gather all the information to everybody who registered, so you can have all the links, you can have all the detailed information, and you can rewatch this session if you were not able to attend. So that's the first. Then there is another question I saw on the Q&A. Carmen de Besa asked if the roundtables are already planned. So I think that would be for Julie.
Yes, and the answer is no, not yet. We're still planning them and recruiting also the private founders that will participate. But the idea would be to have the first one starting in autumn.
Okay.
So autumn this year.
Great, amazing. So keep tuned for autumn then. All right, then I saw a hand raised, and Laura Hageman has the hand raised. So if you can unmute and ask your question, we will be very happy to hear you. Laura. Hello, can you hear us? We cannot hear you. Okay. Is he unmuted? Is he... Laura, you have your hand raised. Can you ask your question? Otherwise, you can...
Yeah, put it in the Q&A box.
Yes.
Maybe.
She says that she has an issue with the audio. Otherwise, the another option is you can write the question. I will be very happy to answer it as well. In the meantime, any other question while Laura tries to fix that or writes the question?
Yeah, I believe there is a question from Selma in the Q&A, Laura.
Okay, yeah, okay. Selma, thank you very much for the very informative presentation. Very welcome, Selma. I am understanding correctly that the Build for People innovation clusters from Nebula project would continue as stakeholders in the Star Track. Please.
Liz, do you want to answer this one or you're on mute, I believe?
As you want. I'm reading the question. Could you please explain the funding to keep?
No, at the last one.
Okay.
The last one, the one that I like. If the Build for People innovation clusters from Nebula project would continue as stakeholders in the Star Track.
What do you mean by stakeholders? Because we will continue to work with all the B4Pics, of course, to support them and to give them access to tools and support. But not all these B4Pics are involved in the Star Trek project directly in the consortium.
Yeah, but I guess there was a comment from Selma that they keep being associated as they are today in Nebula. So indeed, we'll continue sharing resources and
yes, of course. And to invite
them.
you to the different trainings and to send you the link to the webinar and things like that. You will always have our contact and you can contact us even if you are not directly involved in Star Trek as beneficiary.
Okay. I hope that answers the question, Selma. Otherwise, let us know. Then I see the question from Laura. Apparently, she has more than one question. Amazing. Any project in the build environment can apply to the Nebula call, or it is for networks? That would be for Karin.
Yeah, so I guess what you call the Nebula call is what Anastasia presented, the expression of interest to become a B4P innovation cluster. So indeed, those expression of interest is only open to what we call clusters, which can also be sometimes referred to as networks. But yeah, it has to be a legal entity. It has to be an entity that bring together different members of different types and disciplines. So yeah, it's only for clusters and not for projects. Then there are other way to include projects, especially if it's a B4P project, and we have the clustering activities that we organize once a year for the B4P project. If it's not funded under the B4P umbrella, then I'm sure we can find another way to associate you to some of the activities.
All right. I hope that was clear as well. Karin, thank you. And there's a second question from Laura that says, in the new European Bauhaus, we are developing a funding hub for small projects in the built environment. The presentation by Julie Sarcomano was particularly interesting. Could you get in touch with us?
Yes.
That's an easy answer.
Laura, you will have the email address from Laura? Or
Yes, we will.
Okay.
All the people registered, you can find her there, and then you can get in contact and have a chat.
Perfect. Then I'll come back to you, Laura.
Okay. More questions. We have still some time. Oh, anyone who wants to raise the hand. Carmine, please.
Hello. I just noticed that I can talk now because the microphone was not active before. Just a very fast question. We are a cluster, and I would like to better understand how the follow-up process of us complying with our evolution plan. Like we have proposed an evolution plan, a maturity roadmap to increase our maturity. Will we have moments in which we will, let's say, check the achievements as clusters?
I guess that question is either for Karin
Or for Anastasia, I
Or
would say.
Anastasia, I was, yeah, maybe Anastasia better placed.
Well, thank you very much, Carmina, for this question. This is indeed a very important one, and we've been discussing it in between Nebula and StarTrack projects. So at the moment, as the first moment when you only do the self-evaluation of the class of your own cluster, you're doing it by yourself. So it's really self-evaluation, and you define by yourselves. In Nebula project, we have the mechanism of accompanying partners. So it's the partner who is helping the cluster to find better their way of how they would like to mature, in which directions. And at some moment, there were moments when the accompanying partner would be helping the clusters to see where they are and where they would like to go. This mechanism is not at the moment foreseen in the StarTrack project, so we don't have it in plan. However, since we are in the moment that we're developing the action plan and all the mechanism how to help clusters to develop and see where they are, this might be included at this stage. So the moments of checking how the cluster evolves is not included in the project yet, but we consider different mechanisms of how the clusters can be assisted in seeing if they achieve what they're planning to. Will it be comprehensive enough?
Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia. And I also see another hand raised. Salma.
Yes, on this point by Anastasia, I find that aspect of support on Nebula particularly valuable for an emerging cluster, you know. So it would be certainly to sort of allow the continuity through the StarTrack. It would certainly be useful to have that mechanism that Anastasia is suggesting, and that is not there. That's where my question is linked. Are all the clusters invited? So in a way, could we foresee a continuity? I know we are not partners on the project, but stakeholders in a sense that we engaged in a process, and that it would be beneficial to sort of move towards maturity or achieve it. It would be beneficial to continue, in particular, that function, some sort of advisory function or checking function on the roadmap. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This is a very fair point. Fortunately, in StarTrack, we have the luxury which we didn't have in Nebula, because right now we already have our network up and running. And Noelia was the perfect example today, sharing the experience of their front-runner cluster and kind of giving, to some extent, internal tips of the clusters to develop and to gain maturity on different levels. And that is why, by working on our action plan, we really take into consideration these 2 points. First of all, to some extent, theoretical guidance, well, not theoretical, but practical, but from accompanying partners in Nebula from one side, and from different side, this knowledge and experience which has been constantly developing by the clusters who are already in the network. So here is this benefit. It's definitely going to be a very advantageous part in StarTrack.
Thank you, Anastasia. Any more questions in the chat? Nothing else? Oh, Liz, yes.
Not a question, it's just a quick comment on the fact that even when the 2 projects will be over, the part online on the MetaBuilding platform, the B4Peak network, it's your space. You can create whatever you want in this dedicated virtual space. So if you want to create a working group dedicated to best practices on how to evaluate my maturation, dedicated to best practices, I don't know, you can totally use this virtual space to share together and to work together on topics which are concerning you. So in 2 weeks, as I said, we will have another webinar on this subject, and we will explain you how to use this platform to manage the before peak virtual space. The tools will be available on these platforms, the guidance, some deliverables of the project, the one which are public, of course, and things like that.
Thank you, Liz. Any more questions or hands raised? You still have time. You can always send us an email also, but now we have the perfect opportunity because you would have your answer live. Yes, Luigi.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
And thank you for the very interesting seminar. It's not a question, but it's more of a try to reason a little bit about the questions that have been raised by the existing clusters, the maturing clusters, and perhaps the future clusters. I think that this exercise of the Build for People innovation clusters is there to last. And I think that all the clusters have really to use all the tools that Nebula and then StarTrack and the Meta Building platform will put at their disposal to grow also the interaction. I think it was very interesting, the testimonial of Noelia Ortiz about how they use their own roadmap to increase their effectiveness, the number of service to their members, the number of European projects they are taking part to, the connections with other clusters. So there is some activities and some initiatives that the project will carry on. As Federcostruzioni, we are part of this, both of these projects, so we'll cooperate as far as Italy is concerned. But also there is some initiatives that the clusters can take themselves to get in touch with the others and with the consortia to accelerate this process. And it is very important, this exercise, because Build for People, as it was presented as a PPP, it is the cornerstone of innovation for the construction, for the built environment. And we need to show that these ecosystems that we are building with these innovation clusters is a high quality ecosystem that is effective, that is efficient, that is increasing his work and opportunities with also with the new European Bauhaus objectives, and so that we will show also the Commission for the next program that the sector is very active in innovation, and in this way we will make sure to have also in the future budgets and calls in innovation for the construction sector. So this exercise is strategic for that, and I hope that all the clusters, the one that we have identified in Italy, for instance, I know that they are quite active, but mainly active at local or national level. So I think that the EU opportunity to interact with the others also is quite interesting, and I hope that you will. All clusters will search new contexts and new opportunities to increase their internationalization at EU level within this network. Thank you.
Thank you, Luigi, for this beautiful reflection. I mean, I could have not put it better, but here you go. You see this fantastic kind of summary of what Luigi was explaining. So yes, Anastasia, you want to react, please?
Well, I would like to thank for this explanation, and I would really like to once again reinforce the message that the whole movement and the whole idea of doing the Build for People Innovation Cluster Network is not to put additional work on clusters, but really to help them reveal these elements of Build for People and European Bauhaus in what they're doing already. So it's really, it's from one point of view, it's an open club. Everyone is invited to participate. And from different points of view, it's really to help the clusters to enforce those parts which they have been working already on, but to reinforce the connection with the objectives and vision of Build for People and the European Bauhaus, and as such to be aligned with what is proposed by the Commission and the research in Europe in general. So no, it's not more work, it's more adjustment work, but really it's not to make them work more, but to make everyone work more efficiently and together.
Thank you, Anastasia. We could keep talking about, how good is the initiative. So we have plenty of selling points, so no worries on that. Thank you, Anastasia. Any other hand raise, any other comment, reflection? We're happy here to answer, or any other question on the chat. No? Okay. Well, it's time then to give the last words for the closing to Karin, you met before, the project coordinator. And yes,
Thank
Karin.
you so much, Laura, for the great moderation, and thanks to WGBC team for the organization, and to our great team of panelists for your inspiring presentations. And also thanks a lot for all the participants today and for all the great questions and comments. I have only one slide to close, actually. I wanted to advertise our final event, which will take place on the 6th and 7th of March. We are organizing this jointly with other projects. So Nebula will take care of the first day on the 6th, and the Craft Cities will take care of the organization on the 7th of March. We have also other European projects helping us with the organization, for instance, Aegir and Inguma. And on the evening of the first day, we will have a second signing ceremony to welcome our new B4P innovation clusters, which will sign the charter. We already had the first signing ceremony in September, and that will be our second one. So we have a limited number of seats, so please register if you want to save your spot. You have the QR code here that will take you to the agenda and registration. So please join us on that day. It will be great to meet you there. Well, thanks a lot for coming this morning, and I hope that you gain valuable information about our projects. Please get in touch if you need any more details about Nebula or Star Trek, and let's keep in touch.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Karin. Thank you for all the panelists, and keep an eye on your inbox because we will be sending the link to the recording and the slides. So have a great rest of the day and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.